Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series, and I am so excited about today's show. If you want to release the negative impact in your life, this is the show you want to listen to. I have got some fine entrepreneurs on the show today. I've got Kimberly and Warren Griffin. Now, Kimberly and Warren Griffin, they put together something amazing that we're going to talk about. Kimberly is the editor-in-chief, and Warren is the co-editor of Bully Magazine. And Bully Magazine is an amazing magazine with so much great information, and it's all about releasing the negative impact in your life. So if you need a little shot in the arm today of some good positivity and some good thoughts, and you want to read some great articles to get you going, Bully Magazine is the way to do it and the way to go. And we're going to talk about that just momentarily. Kimberly, I'd first like to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are absolutely delighted to have you. And Warren, thank you so much for coming on the show as well.
Thank you for having me. This is already wonderful. I'm enjoying myself already just with the introduction.
All right, just kick back and let's go. Kimberly, let's start with you. Let's pull the lens back a little bit and tell us about the idea and the intent behind Bully Magazine.
Okay, so my name is Kimberly. I started Bully Magazine. Basically, I lost my three important people in my life in 2019. Which was my parents, and then I lost my son at 27 years old to depression. So within that time, I knew he was depressed, and I knew it was something that I needed to do. You know, God put that on my spirit to do it. So I wanted to do something motivational. I wanted to do something that could inspire others so they can release and not hold on to that fearful thing that my son held on to and caused him to be depressed. So I came up with the name Bully. I was like, bully. I said, well, bully's a strong word. So let's use that in a different format. So I used bully in any sense of anyone that have any encounter in their life. It could have been depression. It could have been a divorce. It could have been domestic violence. It could have been cancer, any sickness. So I want individuals to share their past experience in their life on how it bullied them and how they overcame it. So it's a motivational magazine that allows people to release that negative impact that we all hold on to for so long and just be free of it. So I came up with Bully Magazine, and that is how it all started.
Kimberly, that's really a beautiful story, you know, where you took something in your life that was very challenging and difficult, and you looked at it, hard to say, but almost as a blessing, because you wanted to take something from that and change the world in a positive way from this sort of challenging situation that you had that led you to the Bully Magazine. And you've done so many other great things. Support Joey's Heart, which is a nonprofit that we'll get into in a little bit. But let's turn the table just a little bit and talk to Warren. Warren, when I look at this magazine, there's a lot of great articles and wonderful photos. That must keep your day pretty busy putting Bully Magazine together.
Yes, it does. You know, I enjoy working on Bully Magazine. I enjoy the interviews we have, and our process is to have people call and we interview with them across the phone. They record their voice, and what we do is sit down later and we actually pull their story from the story that they told us in the interview process. And I tell you, listening to people talk live about their life and then going back and actually getting by yourself and hearing this story all over again. I have to tell you, Annie, I just did a story and my wife was asleep. And I tell you, it just brought tears to my eyes, but it was such an inspiring story that we will be having in the March issue that's coming up here in the next couple of months. But I tell you, it's just so exhilarating, and I think that it's something that's needed for people to be able to go in a magazine, read about a story of a person that's just like them, because we never know what people go through. And I tell you, this world is so small and there's nothing new under the sun, and we go through things that other people go through. So I think it's important that you be able to go and read a magazine like this, pull something from it and say, wow, look at this person. This person made it through. I can do it too. And that's what Bully Magazine is about. And that's what we're trying to project through those pages. Yes.
Well, I love it. And you've done a great job in projecting that. You've got already your January issue is a very interesting issue. That was sort of like a woman's issue, if you could say that it was sort of a woman's issue. And let's talk to Kimberly about that. Kimberly, the January issue has some wonderful stories from women. And I know you've got some great future editions coming up. I know you have a great military issue coming up as well, but let's talk about the January issue. This was about women. And when you read through it and you look at the stories, it's really sort of puts you in the position to sort of say to yourself, you know, we all share a common thread that we all have challenges, but the other common thread is that if we take care of each other and we empower each other, we can get through these challenges. Is that what really it's all about, Kimberly?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. And it was such a great experience to interview those women that I had the opportunity for them to share their stories on something that they never told anyone. And even myself, you know, just releasing that part of my life, you know, and letting them see it and seeing their story, it made them feel free. And they were like, thank you so much. This was so therapeutic because I never shared that with no one. Now I can go on with my life. So it definitely is a great honor to work with those women.
No, I love that. Now, Warren, Bully, B-U-L-L-Y, if I have it right, the B stands for balance. I made a note of this prior. The U stands for unyielding, L for liberate, L for listenable, and Y for you. So I love that sort of moniker of what Bully's all about. When you put together the magazine, Warren, what's in your mind? Are you thinking about the people that are going to read it and hoping that when they read the magazine and they get through the magazine that they're going to be able to have like a great day and maybe make some positive impacts in their own life so that you can know that you and Kimberly have positively impacted these readers who you might not even know, but they're doing some great things in the world and paying it forward from what you and Kimberly have been able to put together with Bully Magazine?
You know what, Andy, that is exactly correct. I tell you, today in this world, you know, we're dealing with mental health. Mental health is at the top of the list when it comes down. You know, we have COVID going on and people are not being able to work and the 24-hour news cycles, and we get built up into this thing. But pre-COVID, people were still going through things. So, you know, where I'm from and where my wife is from and where millions of people are from, we go through things in our life and we think sometimes we're the only person that's going through this. It's like this wow moment when you read a magazine like Bully and you look up and say, wow, this person has gone through what I've gone through. So to be able to hear so many stories since Bully Magazine was created, we know that first, you know, people are opening up more and they do understand that this is to help someone else. So they are more susceptible to sharing their story and knowing that that is the purpose. You know, the purpose is to help others within these pages because you can tell someone a story, they may forget, Andy, but on retrospect, when they read it, it's there forever. So you can go pick up a Bully Magazine, this same article, and we wanted to build Bully Magazine like this. We wanted you to be able to go pick up publication number 2 10 years from now, and it's a brand new story to someone. So we want this magazine to help people for generations to come. You know, if somebody picking up this magazine, they can go and read Andy's story and say, wow, Andy went through this also, right? And we do hope that it helps other people. We really do. That is our main objective, and our purpose is a very helpful, and it's centered around healing. Is really centered around healing. Yeah.
See, that makes all the sense in the world, Warren. And in today's day and age of social media, if you go on an Instagram or you go on a Facebook page or you look at Twitter, you look at the photos of people's lives and they're only really posting the good stuff. Exactly. So all of a sudden now you think that everybody in the world's having this wonderful, fabulous life with absolutely no problems and no
Right.
challenges. And if you're watching other people on their social and you're seeing all the fun things and great things that they're doing, because they're only posting the fun things and the great things, you look at your life maybe and you say to yourself, my life might not be that interesting. Maybe that could cause me some depression or cause me some problems because of the fact that I'm seeing everybody else having this great life purportedly, and I'm not really living up to those standards. So Kimberly, when we think about that and we think about depression, which I know you have some experience with in your own life, do you think that's part of the problem, that people are getting too addicted to this social and they're seeing everything that everybody else is doing that looks great, but really behind the scenes, it might not be that great?
Absolutely. I would definitely say that that's a part of it, because we look at social media as this glorified place, but not knowing that it can be a bully. Social media can be a big bully because you try to fit in the concept that you see everybody being glorified and all the things they have, that you try so hard to make this image and coach yourself, but you're actually damaging yourself. And you're afraid to not let anyone know what you're going through because of acceptance. Acceptance plays a big part in social media. So I think that it should be a little bit more lenient on how you treat people, because you don't know what they're going through on the other side.
That makes a lot of sense. And people that I speak with all over the world on these interview shows, we talk both on and off the air, and entrepreneurs, especially like the both of you, Kimberly and Warren, we skin our knees and we have problems and not everything goes perfectly, but certainly to the outside world, we want to show a perfect, shiny example of what's going on in our lives. But behind the scenes, especially entrepreneurs, we're skinning our knees all the time. So Warren, when we think about Bully Magazine and the way that you edit the magazine, I know that it's gone through some changes because the cover looks a little bit different. You're making improvements all the time. You're making the magazine better. Is that part of sort of the mindset, Warren, that you and Kimberly have with regard to the magazine, to continually making it better?
Yes, exactly. Anything that you start is going to always have a foundation, and you grow from that foundation. When you're building a house, you start with the mortar first and you build up. Once you're tired of that house, now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're making money, you want a bigger house, so you want it to be better, right? So that's the concept with Bully Magazine. We want to make sure this magazine, when you get into your hands, is a wow moment. We want you to have that wow moment. I'll tell you, this women's magazine, when I touched it, it was like, wow, this is great. And my wife, man, she's the brains behind that. She's a little OCD when it comes down to making sure that things are perfect. So, and I love that because it challenges me. It challenges me to make sure that we are making sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's. When we're editing these things, which we do our editing ourselves, we make sure that it goes to probably 2 or 3 reads before it's published. So we want to make sure everything is spelled correctly, because, people will criticize you for one word wrong. You can have 1,000 words in a sentence. If one wrong, look at that one word, you got it wrong. So we want to make sure we don't have any of that. It's not perfect, but we want to get at least 99%. Yes.
See, I love that. And that's great. And by the way, my wife is the brains behind everything I do as well. Yeah. So we share in that common theme, and we're smart men to say that out loud as well. Kimberly.
Exactly.
That's right. So Kimberly, when we think about the next issue that you're putting out, I read that you're putting out a military issue that's coming out in May. What's the next issue of Bully Magazine going to be all about?
This one that's coming out for March is just a regular issue with 7 people with different deep stories. We have one story that's really, really deep, and we really focus on the touching stories that can really touch people. And we make those the cover issues. So we have some strong stories on this new March issue that really, really touched us and will touch someone else. And we think it's important. So we're sharing that on the cover stories. And with the military issue, we want to focus on our people who served this country and all the things they went through, So with that issue, I put my son on that cover because it was his first year in, and he didn't really want to go into the service, but it's something I made him do to become a man. So we did that, and we're going to have all the men that served the country tell their story on what it was like to be in the military.
I love that. I love that. So this is really refreshing. And what you've done is very, very interesting as well with Bully Magazine, is that you can buy the actual magazine on the website, or you can buy a digital issue as well. You can buy it either way or both ways. And what I really like, Warren, you mentioned something very interesting. So when I read a magazine, a typical magazine, I read the magazine, I put it down, I throw it in the garbage. That pretty much happens all the time. But with Bully Magazine, the stories are so empowering, like you said, that you want people to save these magazines, because they're going to be, the stories are going to be as good a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years from now than they are today. And these magazines actually could be passed down to, let's say, your children or your children's children, and they can read the same stories to sort of give the same powerful motivation to release the negative impact in their life that the original purchaser of Bully Magazine has been able to experience. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
That is correct, Andy. I tell you, that is what I love about Bully, because like I've said before, and I just want to add something, Andy, if you don't mind. What we have seen, especially when there's normal people get that phone call and say, would you mind sharing your story? You got to understand, these people have never been asked this before. And I've noticed how Bully has changed their lives. I mean, we can see people are doing great things by just being in this magazine. Their life literally has changed, because now they can show their family and friends, look, someone cared. So to answer your question, yes. I mean, when you are able to read a magazine like Bully, these stories are not based on the current events, right? They're not based on anything that's happening in 2020 or 2021. This is somebody's story. They're giving you a snapshot of their story and what they went through. So this story will live on forever, just like a book. So Bully is built around that book kind of form of, if you get a great book that you love to read, you want to go to your son or your daughter and say, here, read that book, even though you bought it 20 years ago, right? So that's the concept of bullying, and that is what we are geared towards, and it's been going great, and I love it. I love doing it. I thank my wife for putting this together. She had a brilliant mind for this. She really did.
Well, this is wonderful, and you're paying it forward in a big way. And the people that you're interviewing as well, something that also comes to mind is they're telling their story. Maybe they had some challenges and how they overcame it. And now that it's actually written down in a digital magazine, they're not going to want to fall back to the same problems or challenges that they had before, since they've already come out sort of and put it in print that they're moving forward in their lives. Isn't that right, Kimberly?
That is correct. It is a motivation for them to do better, knowing that they've done and released that, all the accomplishments that they gained and everything that they went through. By releasing that and having that story and being able to look at it, it makes you feel good. And we've been getting so many compliments from those people that shared their story, saying thank you. You took the time to listen to me when no one else did listen. You took the time to not judge me with no judgment. And you just released it and put it in your publication. So we thank you for that. And we're just happy for it. So, yeah.
I love it. Now, I know, Kimberly, that you and Warren are authors as well. I know that you have a special affinity toward writing children's books.
Yes.
Maybe you could just share with the audience a little bit what your favorite children's book that you wrote was. And I think you've written 5 or 6 children's books already.
Yes.
And tell us your favorite one and what the message behind your favorite children's book was.
Okay. All right. So my favorite one that I did was Through Daddy's Eyes. Through Daddy's Eyes is a story about my granddaughter and my son. My oldest son has a condition which is called sarcoidosis, and he has limited eyesight. One of his eyes he lost. The other one he has limited. So the things that he can't see, she sees for him. And it teaches children to understand that no matter what your parents go through, what health condition, whatever it is that they have going on in their life, you still need to love them. So that story allows children to not bully anyone that may be a bit different, because whatever it is that they love, you can show someone else how to love as well. So Through Daddy's Eyes tells that story about my granddaughter and everything that she does, and what my son can't see, she sees for him.
Wow, that's beautiful. And Warren, you've done some writing as well. And from the things that you've written, Warren, what's the message that you're trying to get through from the things that you've written to the general public about life in general?
Well, and mine is a little different, because what I'm trying to do in my books is get you away from the world. You know, I write fiction novels, totally made up, and I've always been a storyteller, you know, and I just think it's important. You know, we can cut on the TV and watch a great movie. You know, you can sit your children down and get your popcorn ready, and you guys can get 2 hours of your life, you know, with your family. With my books, you can get to yourself, get you some coffee, and read a great story. So with that being said, you know, I did write a book called Who Am I?, which my wife, she challenged me to write a book that was centered around, you know, someone going through something. But I really enjoy the made up part, the fiction part. I can take my characters wherever I want to take them. I can have them do whatever I want them to do. And they're living in my head. They really are.
I love it.
They live in, I'll tell you, Andy, I'm a freestyle writer. I mean, it's like I don't have a timeline. I don't have anything. When I sit down and write, what I write is what's published. Yes, there's no going back for a second run. And I don't know, it just comes, my story. And when I go back and read the whole book, even though it took me 6 or 7 months to write it, it all flows together. So yeah,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Warren. And when I read a fiction book, you know, oftentimes it sort of takes me away from my real life for a minute and immerses me into the story, and that is offers perhaps a meditative component to it. And we know that meditation and getting away from the world stresses is a good thing to do. So I would imagine in your books, you offer the reader an opportunity to get out of their sort of daily life and into this make-believe world that perhaps offers a meditative quality to it that also can help them release their stress because they get away from the world's problems for a minute. Isn't that right?
That's exactly correct. In a nutshell, yep.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I'm sure we can find your books on the website. I'm sure if we go to Bully Magazine, there's a link, or go to the Bully Magazine Facebook page or Instagram. And I'm sure there's plenty of links that you can read and buy Kimberly and Warren's books. And it's just wonderful that you've been able to put this passion for writing and this passion for releasing the negative impact all together in a business model. And that's very, very exciting. Kimberly, I want to turn the interview to you just for a minute, because prior to the interview, as we were prepping in the last couple of weeks, you shared something with me called Support Joey's Heart. It's a nonprofit that you and Warren have. And could you just tell our viewers about that? Because this sort of goes in line with what you're doing at Bully, because it shows sort of your and Warren's sort of appreciation for helping people in the need, to put yourselves out there as sort of the pinnacle of what people can aspire to, even if they have challenges in their life, to put one foot in front of the other and become a positive force in the world.
Amen. So Support Joey's Heart is a nonprofit organization in honor of my son, Joey. Joey was 27 years old when he passed away. So we all know he suffered depression and had some challenges in his life. So I wanted to do a nonprofit where we can serve the community by going out, doing group session, and just listening to them, understanding what they're going through, just being that voice for them, you know, no matter what challenges it is. So with Support Joey's Heart, we give back. We do a number of different charities. I give back to moms that are suffering, you know, a little tough time in their life. And we gave a number of different baby items. And then those moms that have lost a child to gun violence. And then we also give to those that are having a hard time with Christmas. Then we also give a goodie bag drive. Every month we give my children's books out to those children that would want to read my books in the areas that are kind of at challenge. And we give them a book with a goodie in there. We give them some motivational things like school supplies and things of that nature. And sometimes we give t-shirts too. So we also was doing motivational speaking as well with Support Joey's Heart. But because of the pandemic, it kind of limited us from doing that. So that's when I started Bully Magazine. I started that magazine because I couldn't trend into the nonprofit, but it's still going, but we still need to do some more up and coming things to get us going. So that is what Support Joey's Heart mainly does. And we also collaborate with other nonprofits on doing food drives and school drives and things of that nature.
I love it. I love it. So it all really ties very neatly together in a very, very nice way. You know, some people believe that the world is about three main things. And to be a great person, you need to incorporate three things in your world. One is compassion.
Yes.
Two is modesty. And
Yes.
three is kindness. And for
Absolutely.
you and Warren, you've been able to sort of incorporate all three of these things in not only your personal lives and your nonprofits, but as well as your entrepreneurial life. So Warren, I want to ask you a little bit of a few questions about being an entrepreneur for the entrepreneurs watching the show. There's people that have an idea, maybe it's not a magazine, but it's something else, and they just can't get off their haunches. They can't figure out a way to take that first step to make something happen in their lives. And you and Kimberly together as a force have been able to work off of each other's strengths and weaknesses to forge forward with Bully Magazine. So Warren, talk to the entrepreneurs maybe for a minute and tell them, give them some inspiration if they're sitting on the sidelines and they want to jump in. Maybe you could give them some inspiration on how they can take that first step to make their dreams a reality.
You know what? You said it in the question. Take that first step. You have to do it. I mean, if you have an idea doesn't blossom until you put it to work, right? If you don't put it to work, it's going to always be an idea. If you are looking at whether or not you're going to fail before you even get started, of course you are. We all fail, right? Mm-hmm. Being an entrepreneur is tough because if you're going in your life and you have bills and you have things that you have to pay and you start getting down on yourself because you're not bringing in the money, you have to go to your passion, Andy. When you're passionate about something, you get up and you do it. Mm-hmm. See, I think with entrepreneurship, we have to start getting into that realm of your passion, something that you enjoy doing. You know, I had a mentor of mine a long time ago when I owned a business, right? And I used to do demo work and I wanted to venture off into something else. And I went and asked him, Andy, and I never forgot this. He said, Warren, I do not get into a business I don't understand. And I never forgot that. Right. So I think Bully Magazine, with myself and I being on the right-hand side, was really something that we were passionate about and something that we love doing. And you have heard the old cliche, if you are doing something that you love doing, you never work a day in your life. So I would say to entrepreneurs first, find your passion in it. Right. Put one step in front of the other. You know, I would say that if you need to, make sure you have your business plan right. If you want to go to a bank and get the funds from a bank, or if you say, I got a 5-year plan, make sure in that 5-year plan, if you do have a job, put $100 up, put $100 here, put $100 there. Make sure that you take that step and say, okay, now I've saved up $1,000. Now I can get my business started. So there's so many different ways, but I think the one thing that you have to do is was within the question. You have to do it. You got to get up and get started, because if you don't start, you will never finish.
See, I love that. And that's super inspiring for the younger entrepreneurs watching the show. We also have, obviously, Inc. 5000, Inc. 500 people watching the show as well, C-level executives, people that are on their way up the tier. And people that are entrepreneurial in their heart, and they want to become entrepreneurs. So Kimberly, when we think about the magazine, again, I want to get back to the magazine, because one of the things that you talk about is sort of following life's journey with a balance. And that's something that you speak about in the magazine. That's something that, you know, is at the forefront of the webpage and of the magazine's webpage. So Kimberly, maybe you could talk a little bit about that balance and how you're able to keep that balance with everything you've got going on in your life with you and Warren, and building this wonderful magazine that you're doing.
Okay. All right. So with my balance, I think it's very important that you have self-care for yourself too. You have to care for yourself, the main thing that you have to do. And how I have a balance in my life, I have to keep steps going. I have to keep a sheet with everything that I need to do to keep me balanced. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place. So keeping your journey going in life, you sometimes have to make sure you put everything in place first. Okay, you get up in the morning, you do your duties. The next thing you do is your self-care. So take out a day also for yourself to treat yourself kind. Even if you meditate, I always make sure I take an hour to read the Bible, to give myself time. So in order for you to get on that journey and keep everything balanced, you have to make sure you have a strategy and plan for your life too, not just for your business.
I love it. And there's so many reasons to support the Bully magazine with what you're doing. I want to give the people watching the show and the people that are going to be listening to the show on our podcast a way to reach out to you, Kimberly, and to Warren. Warren, so what's the website address that they need to go to check out Bully magazine and take a look at what you're doing?
That is bullymagazine2020.com. Again, bullymagazine2020.com.
Okay, and we're certainly going to put that link in below the YouTube video and on .com magazine and all over our social. And when I was getting ready for the show, Kimberly and Warren, I was very excited because I knew the intent of what was behind this magazine, and it was very exciting to me to talk to the co-founders, or the editor-in-chief and the co-editor, if you will, because what you're doing is fabulous. And you can see on the website the progression of where it started and where it's coming. And it's becoming a much slicker magazine. The editorials are becoming better. The stories are becoming better. The covers are becoming better. And that's a great lesson for our entrepreneurs to learn as well, to go to the bullymagazine2020.com and see that progression that Kimberly and Warren are putting forward for this baby of theirs, because that's very important to see that progression from the ground up. So Kimberly and Warren, I wanted to thank you both for coming on the show today. This has been a delight for me. Congratulations on not only Bully Magazine, but of course, support Joey's Heart. And people watching should also Google that and check that out, because you've done some very nice work on that, Kimberly. And I'm sure in the future that will continue to grow as well. Warren, your books, your fiction books, are going to get people out of their mindset and into a beautiful world that you've created for them. And Kimberly, your leadership in this field of releasing the negative impact in one's life is very, very powerful. And I wanted to thank you both for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. It was such an honor to be on your show, Andy. And I hope that all the viewers that sees this, maybe they can collaborate with us or give us some insight on the things that they're doing as well.
Thank you very much. And Warren, thank you again. And best of luck for putting that next issue together. It's going to be amazing.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. We most definitely appreciate you.